We have major breaking news from John Solomon, a brand new bombshell report detailing how the Obama administration may have pressured the FBI to monitor the Trump campaign before that so-called official investigation was even authorized. Now, Solomon's report also uncovers the FBI's possible misconduct surrounding their use of spies. And Sara Carter with breaking news. She's blowing the whistle on even more spying abuse against the Trump campaign, including a possible coordinated effort to monitor Trump associates by some of our closest allies abroad. This is now beginning to get so much bigger than we ever thought. Here to help break down this damning new report is the Hill's John Solomon. John, good to see you, sir. Quick question. You think Corsi could be right?
I don't know. I hope not. I hope that people stay within the law at all times, right? You don't want to see freelancing or retribution.
Haven't you been told by people that certain things were happening to you?
There have been times where people have raised questions about our reporters like myself being surveilled. And, of course, in the past, the FBI did illegally intercept my mail 10 years ago. So there's a public record of the FBI apologizing to me for taking my mail after I broke all the stories about what the FBI knew before 9/11.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. And again, if that's the case, if people that are trying to get to the truth and exposing corruption then become targets of the deep state and those that have these tools of intelligence, you could say goodbye to the Constitution because it doesn't exist.
And let's hope that's not the case.
And by the way, you might have been unmasked, right?
Don't know. I don't have any evidence of it, and I try to stay focused on what I can report. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. London bridges falling down, curious origins of FBI's Trump-Russia probe. This is huge, including the new Strzok page memos that you've discovered. Let's talk about it all.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Whenever something's going on in Washington and people tell you there's no political pressure, I just don't believe it. There's always political pressure in Washington when there's something as big as a hot football like the Russia election investigation. And these text messages are really the first to really get at the idea that FBI agents felt political pressure. They were worried that they used an expletive to describe their brethren at the Obama Justice Department might be leaking. And probably the most seminal and most important text message that has raised a lot of concern with the people I talked to is a declaration after a meeting at the FBI on August 5th that the Obama White House, quote, is running this thing. And we don't know what that means yet, except that you can interpret that the FBI agents had some fear that the White House was somehow going to become involved in the Russia case. And that's the first word that we've seen in a documentary sense that suggests that.
John, what you're saying here, and if we just look at the face of the Strzok page text here, right, they're pinning this whole thing on the Obama White House, that the Obama White House is running it. Now,
we certainly have that fear. Yeah.
What's that?
They have that fear. They feared at that moment that this was about to be politically hijacked, either by the CIA, the Justice Department, or the White House run by Barack Obama.
That's part of it, but don't they at one point say that it's being run? And my interpretation is they're saying it is being run there.
Somebody said in a meeting that they went to that the White House is now running this. That's right. That's what they came back and said in that text message.
All right. So I guess at this particular point, we go back to a big problem that we have, and that is the Department of Justice, Rod Rosenstein in particular, and others, they have been obstructing, they have been stonewalling. We have separation of powers, co-equal branches of government. We have a constitutional role for Congress, which is oversight. And guess what? They're preventing them from doing their job, knowing what you know. If we get that information, how devastating is it for them?
Well, there's a very important person quoted in my latest column, and that is the former head of intelligence for the FBI, ironically under Robert Mueller, who says that from what he has seen and the stuff I talked to him about and what he's seen on his own, that Congress has legitimate, serious questions that should be answered by the Justice Department. This evidence that we have now, these new emails showing that the people who became the informers and the informants, college professors and ambassadors and opposition researchers for Hillary Clinton, were making their contacts with the Trump administration long before there was a predicated investigation. The rule says no source activity until you have a predicated investigation. These emails suggest that there was some source activity, some targeting going on. And if Bob Mueller's former intelligence chief said this raises questions, I think we should listen to him.
John Solomon, thank you. Huge breaking news tonight, and we're going to stay on this story. We'll get back to it next week, I promise. We will follow the bouncing ball here, something the media can't do. All right, we have more breaking news tonight. Her brand new column, her brand new report, investigative reporter, Fox News contributor Sara Carter. Sara, let's get into yours. And it's very clear. It's, you know, this is a big story also. And you're also corroborating and confirming a lot of John's story.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what we see before the FBI actually opened its official investigation, it was a counterintelligence investigation, which means they were gathering as much information as possible from everywhere. And they could. They actually, and I'm not talking about just the Bureau, I'm talking about other intelligence agencies, foreign intelligence, the Great Britain, Germany, Estonia, Poland. Now, we're a member of the Five Eyes, and that doesn't include Germany, Estonia,
Explain the
and
Five
Poland.
Eyes.
Okay, that's Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United States, and Great Britain. And we share information with one another. That means if we have information that's pertinent to the U.S., we share it. Remember with Alexander Downer, the ambassador who shared the information with the United States on his conversation with Papadopoulos.
By the way, we got to remind people, Downer donated $25 million to the Clinton Foundation, okay?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And John... And remember, before the FBI interviewed him, the State Department had to get involved. That would mean John Kerry knows about this, too. And that goes back to John's report. It goes to the White House. Now it goes also to the Secretary of State's office.
Well, we have to ask ourselves, Sean, what information are we trading back and forth? And this also would mean that Brennan, who is head of the CIA, DNI Clapper, director of national intelligence, would be well aware of this because this is a counterintelligence investigation involving something very specific, involving the Trump campaign members. And that's very important. That doesn't mean that this would just be at a lower level. This would be at a higher level, a principal level, which means that Brennan was very well aware of what was going on. And what I'd like to know is, did the British share the information with us first on some of these players, or did we ask for specific information?
But this is important.
How was the exchange?
Yep. And this is important because all these foreign players are involved. The timeline is way off than the story, that the narrative that they've been saying. That means people have been lying dramatically here. And then we got an IG report coming out, and I'm told as many as 28 people that have knowledge of the Clinton email server scandal, 28 of them, FBI people, want to be subpoenaed so they can tell the story about corruption at the highest levels of the Bureau that they love.
Absolutely. There's a lot of FBI agents that want to come out and speak. A lot of them are current agents, which makes it very difficult for them. So they need to be subpoenaed. So these are things that Congress needs to act on. Congress needs to do so that they can come out and tell their stories.
Unbelievable reporting. Thank you, Sara Carter. You just keep breaking story after story. We're going to stay on this. This is getting interesting. When we come back, we'll get legal analysis. Gregg Jarrett, David Limbaugh on this big breaking news night, and the Korean summit is on, and great economic news. All right, joining us now with more reaction to tonight's opening monologue, we have attorney David Limbaugh. Full disclosure, even though I said it 1,000 times, David has done all of my contracts in radio and TV. Also, the author of the soon-to-be #1 New York Times bestseller, The Russian Hoax, The Illicit Scheme to Clear Hillary Clinton, Frame Donald Trump, Fox News legal analyst Gregg Jarrett. Let me begin with you, Greg. And when I hear John Solomon say what he just said in the last segment, and Sara Carter, what she is reporting tonight, the idea that we now have new text messages, you're aware of it, you had it in your hands last night as I did, we weren't fully able to go full bore, that in fact this goes to the Obama White House, that they're running the operation. What should happen?
Well, look, it's very obvious that the CIA Director John Brennan, James Clapper of the DNI, and the Obama White House, and likely the president himself, were all in on this. Brennan was the instigator of the hoax. He grabbed a hold of the fictitious anti-Trump dossier with his teeth, and he ran with it, propagating it on Capitol Hill, trying to damage candidate Trump, and then thereafter, trying to destroy his presidency. And whenever he shows up on television, as he did yesterday, bashing Trump, he only reinforces the notion that he was the guy with the most to gain. He wanted to perpetuate his own power.
Communist?
Pardon me?
Oh, yeah. Did he vote for? All right. How did he become the CIA director in the first place? Why do I think a communist, a CIA director, is a little dangerous? Yeah, let me go to this whole issue. The whole narrative, David Limbaugh, was about Papadopoulos and Downer getting drunk together, as Gregg said the first time, four-way hearsay. And we now know Downer they had to thread a needle. The Kerry State Department's involved, so that means, again, the timing is off, the timeline is off. The whole story is crumbling. It began a lot earlier, but Downer's also a guy that donated $25 million to the Clinton Foundation. So we got some huge conflicts again here.
Yes, and there's a suspicious amount of Clinton involvement in all this supposedly neutral FBI investigation. Not only was Downer, had he donated $25 million to the Clinton Foundation, this Russian lobbyist in the Trump Tower meeting had Clinton ties. And back to your point about the Obama involvement, you know, why is it so hard to believe about Obama, who was willing to weaponize and politicize the IRS and EPA, that he would do so to the DOJ and FBI? Strzok and Page, we now know from these texts, feared Obama wanted to hijack the campaign. We know from the investigation. We know from previous texts that he wanted to know everything. They were worried about him being soft on Russia, which is very ironic through all this. And we now have FBI agents, according to Sara Carter, who want to come forward and tell on the record some of the improprieties. There is no way, and I think...
Yeah. Go ahead, finish. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I don't think there's any way that Trey Gowdy is right about this. If he were right about this, and I have a lot of respect for him, that there wouldn't have been such an effort to protect Hillary Clinton. If it was just neutral spies, they would have issued a protective briefing to Donald Trump. And we would have known a lot more about it.
Exactly. All they had to do is go to Trump. This is what makes it all so sinister, and it's starting early. Their timeline is off, Gregg. They changed the rules, the Obama administration. If we remember, they were sharing this intel with agencies, 16 or 17 of them, which they had never done before, and the whole Papadopoulos, issue is just blown out of the water.
Yeah, the FBI, with the help of a complicit New York Times, perpetuated this myth that it was Papadopoulos. That's an outright lie. They're trying to conceal the truth.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to have to leave it.
Why did they lie about...
Yeah, okay. That's for it, David.
Why did they lie about Papadopoulos having emails when all he said was he heard they had dirt on him? Why all these suspicious lies if they weren't trying to set up Trump?
It's all falling apart. These stories are blockbuster.
Hillary Clinton violated the Espionage Act, and perhaps the president violated the Espionage Act by using that server. Now, I was hunting for the right words to get it, but it's that simple. And once you open that door, and I believe Susan Rice is the key to the start of opening that door, then everything's going to become very transparent of how they used the intelligence community for political purposes.
Yeah, you got to...
Hillary Clinton has violated the Espionage Act. This is very serious. If you violate the Espionage Act, it's a minimum of 10 years in jail, and Secretary Clinton should be tried for that. This is big and dangerous as Watergate. It is. It is because an administration that left trap doors that was endangering the United States and our national security. Those are treasonous acts. That's why this can be as big or bigger than Watergate.
I think we have ample facts revealed to us during this last year and a half that high-ranking people throughout the government, not just the FBI, high-ranking people had a plot to not have Hillary Clinton, indicted so that she could remain the flawed candidate that she was, which in my view was stupidity. And they also had and even this Strzok guy talked about this. They had a backup plan to basically frame Donald Trump. And that's what's been going on. This whole thing, in my view, is just total phony. I mean, how would you feel, someone out there in America land, if somebody was just had a phony scheme about you and went on for months and months and months?
Yeah,
and that's what's going on.